is steering at his brother now.
Two more rounds are left to play in the F1 season, and we are getting straight down to business with the breaking news. Starting things off, and most of the news stories tailor around Zak Brown and his personal feelings heading into this race weekend. Zak Brown says that he is ready to leave McLaren after major conflicts with himself and also Vodafone. Of course, the entire sponsorship deal malarkey has caused both Sam and Tom to leave the team, as well as key McLaren representatives. As we'll see later on, those key representatives have joined Jaguar. Zak Brown is absolutely furious as he'd finally managed to build the perfect team with a great sponsorship deal initially, which he then obviously backed to the new sponsorship deal and is now seems to be regretting. He had that sponsorship deal with Vodafone, he had 2 Formula 1 World Champions in his car, and just an overall great performing team. But now that doesn't seem to be the case, and it's almost as if he's pretty much just lost everything that he's built. He has a sponsorship deal with Vodafone, but it seems that that sponsorship has backfired and it's something that he doesn't like anymore. Key representatives who worked alongside him have left. His 2 World Championship drivers have left. Zak Brown's pretty much just lost everything, and he might need to leave McLaren to find a new beginning, but it's really tough times at the moment for Zak Brown. Now, key representatives that left McLaren to join Jaguar are now trying to sign both Tom and Sam to get in those Jaguar seats. Of course, we saw that the key representatives that were also unhappy alongside Tom and Sam left McLaren instantaneously, and with Jaguar having a reshuffle of their team as well, they decided to jump ship to Jaguar. With that being said, and them having great relationships with both Tom and Sam, they're now trying to get them to join Jaguar, which would be very, very interesting. With Zak Brown looking to be out of McLaren, David Smith, who left Jaguar after his problems, looks to be now the key man that's going to lead McLaren if Zak Brown decides to leave. Obviously, he may end up staying. Now, Tom has spoken out for the first time since last week after stating that he was happy to leave McLaren alongside Sam. Reinstating that he is happy with his decision to leave, and he is wishing that Zak Brown does the right thing. He didn't specify what that means, but clearly the message is kind of simple. Zak, you might want to leave McLaren if you are to have a better future. Now, having a look at the transfer centre then as we go into this race weekend, it's been confirmed that Valtteri Bottas will be joining Renault for next season. Bottas had decided that he wanted to leave Williams at the end of the season, of course, trying to focus on getting himself a better seat, and he feels he's going to get that better drive joining Renault for next season. Audi are looking for a new driver apparently after a rough second half of the season. Audi have currently got 2 contracted drivers of George Russell and Devon Butler. Now, the interesting thing to note about this is that George Russell is in advanced talks about a contract extension with Audi. That could only pave the way for Devon Butler to end up leaving Audi. Or is the speculation about Audi trying to find a new driver even true? That we need to actually find out first before we get anywhere near towards finding out what's going on with them. What we do know is that Carlos Sainz will be leaving Ford at the end of the season, as we knew from a while ago, and he has managed to hook himself up a drive with Ferrari. As Charles Leclerc has decided to leave Ferrari, Carlos Sainz will be replacing him at the Scuderia. Sainz says this is a dream come true for him, and he's finally happy to be at a team which he thinks can give him some world championships. And lastly, Sam has been linked with a move to Audi after his move to McLaren has now been complete. He's left McLaren, and Audi look to be the seat where he's heading to. Whether that's true or not, again, Transfer Centre is all about the rumours. Now having a look at the race news then for this race weekend, and McLaren and Mercedes seem to have pulled away slightly from Jaguar, with Sector 1 really costing Jaguar a lot of performance. McLaren, Mercedes and Jaguar for the final part of the season have been very close in terms of their performances, and it's clear to see that Jaguar just still need a little bit of extra work if they're going to make their car very, very strong, as it's clear to see through the tight twisty corners the Jaguar car is not quite up to the standard of Mercedes and McLaren. Renault believe that they're actually going to be able to mix it in with Jaguar this race weekend, a very bold statement coming out from the French team, but they do believe that they can make a difference with their performances today and have some fun with Jaguar. Ferrari's focus has been confirmed to have been on next year's car for quite some time now. We've been wondering why Ferrari have been so far off the pace at the moment, and it's clear to see that their championship aspirations just never really kicked off and took early focus onto next year's car. And with that being said and done, no development is being done onto this car and hasn't done now since round 7, they've said. With that being said, of course, they are looking to be far off the pace, which is going to be frustrating for both Noah and Charles Leclerc, and Audi are also still struggling to find that speed that they had at the start of the season. It's a very confusing time for Audi when they had such strong performance to start the year off, but it's just tailored off and they've just never seemed to have found it again, and yeah, they don't seem to be comfortable here at Suzuka. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. It's time for the Japanese Grand Prix. Yo, what's going on guys, it is Foxy98 here. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the F1 journey for you guys today here on the channel. Today we're here for round number 15, which is the Japanese Grand Prix here at Suzuka. A really, really cool classic circuit, and I can't wait to get involved with it. So then, as we go into qualifying then, this is my first flying lap here. As we go in towards the S section, we get it a little bit wrong to start with, and already you can see on my banker lap here, just not really feeling comfortable with the car, and you can see right there that that S section just started off wrong, and it ended off wrong there as we spin around, and we just lost out then. So I went around again, so I had enough fuel to do so. And again, the back end of the car just not working with me, unfortunately. I just couldn't get the car to really stick to the circuit as much as I'd like. But I obviously carried on with the lap anyway, because I was 11 seconds up, because obviously I was slowed down on my previous best lap. So I thought, let's just get that banker lap in and try and go from there. But I couldn't even get a banker lap in because I spun again and hit my front wing. And this is probably the worst preparation I could ever have for a qualifying session. But we then finally, we get a new front wing. We knock over those two bollards because I think they're the most pointless bollards in human history and I don't like them. And I always knock them over. But we get across the line, we get a new front wing, and we finally set ourselves a lap time. I think I stayed on the same compounded tyres that I'd run already. And then unfortunately that meant that I only really had one more opportunity left to get a lap in. I didn't really get much preparation time. As we go in towards the last corner now, we're about half a second up on our previous best lap. So this could be quite a good lap if we can get it together. I didn't quite nail the second part of the chicane the way I would have liked. That was close to the wall. And as we come towards the start-finish line, we do improve by half a second, but it's only going to be good enough for P6. And unfortunately, yeah, it was just a scrappy qualifying session. I sort of lost a little bit of confidence, tried to do a couple of changes here and there, and honestly didn't quite work out in my favour, but hey ho. Anyway, Sam takes pole position for the Japanese Grand Prix ahead of Max Verstappen with a front row lockout for him, I think, for the first time. Lewis Hamilton and Reese then lock out the second row for Mercedes-Benz, and then we have got Nico Hulkenberg in P5 ahead of myself then in P6. So again, it is Mercedes, McLaren and Jaguar going at it. Noah James qualifies in P7 ahead of Daniel Ricciardo in P8 for Renault, and then it's Mason Woods in P9 ahead then of Charles Leclerc, who rounds out the top 10. In P11, Esteban Ocon for Renault ahead of Lando Norris in P12 for Red Bull. P13 and 14 goes to the Audi drivers of Devon Butler and George Russell. Butler seems to be doing a great job of out-qualifying George Russell, not so much in the races. Gasly and Bottas are next to the grid then in P15 and P16 ahead of the two Porsche cars of Nico Rosberg and Pascal Wehrlein, P17 and 18 for them. And then the back row of the grid is Lucas Weber ahead then of Carlos Sainz to round off the grid for the Japanese Grand Prix then. So let's get straight into the action then and see what we've got then. So it's going to be a one-stop race from soft tyres to the hard tyres, and I quickly made a couple of changes to my race setup because I wasn't happy with the setup that I initially had, so I went ahead and just made a few little tweaks in there. I didn't turn Parc Fermé off, basically, short and short. But as we're going to get ready then for the race itself then, we're in 6th place on the grid. Last time we started 6th, which was last race, we got 3rd. Let's see if we can do any better this time. It's lights out where we go here to start the Japanese Grand Prix off in fine style. It's a good start from Lewis Hamilton in P3 there. He's going to go alongside Verstappen as they go in towards the first corner. Hulkenberg's going to try and go to alongside Reese. We're going to go down the inside of Nico Hulkenberg straight away here. Early overtake then on the Jaguar driver, 5th place. Straight off the bat there, Ricciardo in the background, trying to make his way past Nico Hulkenberg. Ricciardo does make his way past Nico Hulkenberg there. So Hulkenberg off to an awful start there. Hamilton had a flyer, but he didn't manage to find his way past Verstappen. It's Sam that leads. Verstappen 2nd, Hamilton 3rd, Reese 4th. We're in 5th, Ricciardo 6th, Hulkenberg down in 7th place then off the start. They're not a great one for him as we already get our first track extension warning, so we need to be careful now because I've only got 2 more now for the rest of the Grand Prix before we start getting penalised. So that's something that I don't want to do. But straight away then on the end of the first lap, or this might be the start of lap 2, no idea. As you can see that Sam is going far out into the distance. Hamilton though wants to get straight past Verstappen as they go in towards turn 1. He gets shoved wide there by Verstappen. Max getting his elbows out. He doesn't want to make that move, allow it to stick there. Now we're on to lap 3 to start lap 4 because we've got DRS here now, and Lewis Hamilton will once again try and go at Verstappen here for 2nd place in the Grand Prix. How did you look at the gap that Sam is pulling out front? Nobody is getting anywhere near him, but again Verstappen shoves him wide as Hulkenberg now has managed to get his way past Daniel Ricciardo. But straight away here on lap 4 of the Grand Prix, you can see there's a little bit of a train now for 2nd place here. It's Verstappen versus Hamilton versus Reese versus me now. It's a 4-way fight for 2nd place, and we want to make sure that we get in on the act and we get a fantastic run out of the 2nd Degner now going in towards the hairpin here. We're going to put our car down the inside on Reese in towards the Kobayashi hairpin there, and we make that move stick on him. And we're up into 4th place now in the Grand Prix. And Lewis Hamilton is just up the road. And speaking of Lewis Hamilton, he is all over the back of Max Verstappen. And this was something that I was finding a little bit difficult, actually, was the Mercedes-Benz just seemed a little bit quicker in a straight line than myself. And it was hard because Hamilton was just literally doing this all the time, attacking Verstappen. But on this occasion, he finally gets past Max Verstappen after trying for nearly 6 laps. And now he can try and hunt down my teammate here. It's on to lap 6 for us, though. We're starting to struggle a little bit on our tyres, especially. And Reese here got a great run out of Spoon curve. I did not, and Reese absolutely flies past before 130R, and we're still tucking into the slipstream here, so we're getting a nice run now on Reese in towards the chicane. But on this occasion I decided let's not fight him. Actually, I don't think we're actually in DRS range now anymore of Verstappen and Hamilton, so if I can stick with Reese and hold DRS, we'll get back in that train again and just close ourselves back in a little bit. So it was smart to overtake Reese when we did, but obviously unfortunately we now just have to wait a little bit. So Verstappen there tried to go back at Hamilton, but it doesn't work for him as he tries to make some fights. We're going to scroll further down though. That's Hulkenberg trying to fight off one of the Renault cars, and then I've got to believe that's one of the other Renault cars of Ocon fighting against one of the Red Bulls there. I'm not sure which one it is though, but they're going through and towards the first sector, and Ocon comes out on top there. So it was Lando Norris that was fighting off with that Renault of Ocon. Now Mason Woods here is going to attack his teammate and go for it in towards turn 1. Quite a simple overtake there. Maybe in some team orders, but you never know. And as they go in towards there, Mason goes very wide on the entry of turn 1 there, but he still makes that move stick as the 2 Audis scrap along. Speaking of scraps though, we're going to go back up to the front here where once again Hamilton is trying to attack Verstappen as Max did get past Hamilton in the midst of all of that carnage going on in the background, and Verstappen now is literally holding up these 2 Mercedes cars. They are so desperate to find a way past, but they just can't make it stick for themselves. But finally Verstappen comes into the pits, and now Hamilton is released, but he's now got to face off against his own teammate here as Reese now takes the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix as my teammate and Verstappen have pitted. Hamilton sacrificed his 2nd place though. We're now in 3rd place. I was going to stop on that lap and undercut both Mercedes cars, but I couldn't because unfortunately my teammate Sam decided to pit in front of me, so I couldn't do it. But now we're going to come in here on the end of, I think this is lap 9, I can't remember, but we're coming in now for what will be our one and only stop onto the hard tyres, and we're going to take them all the way to the end of the Grand Prix. We should get the undercut on Lewis Hamilton as Reese managed to get first service, so there's something to put in our back pocket as a slight advantage. Now as we come out of the pits here comes ourselves. We're just behind Reese there as Sam there is flying past one of the Audi cars, I believe, of Devon Butler. We now coming out into the pits here, going to rejoin in a little bit of clean air. There is going to be some traffic in front of us though, but we'll be able to clear that hopefully very, very quickly and maybe use the traffic to our advantage here. Lap 10 of the Grand Prix it is now. So we've got a virtual safety car that has come out there. I believe there's a Renault that has stopped in towards turn 1 now on the minimap. and I can confirm that was Daniel Ricciardo. But speaking of that overtake that Sam did on one of the Audi cars, here it is in full. So he's now going through and just breezes past Devon Butler in the Audi there. His McLaren working great for him, Sam, so far, and goes a little bit wide in towards turn 1, but he makes it stick for himself, so that's fine. Speaking of Audis going backwards, here is Max Verstappen now making some progress, and Verstappen has gone a different way on strategy then. Max Verstappen, as we watch Hamilton attacking one of the Williams cars here, Verstappen has pitted for a second set of soft tyres in this Grand Prix, confirming he's doing a 2-stop race. Myself, and in fact, he's doing it completely differently now as we go in towards the second Degner here. Both McLaren's and Mercedes cars are doing 1-stop. Jaguar are rolling the dice and doing a 2-stop now as we're going to go up the inside of Reese, and also one of the Williams cars, that's Bottas there, that we go up the inside, and they just got caught. That hairpin is a beautiful place to overtake the AIs because they just domino effect and slow down there, so that really helped us out there. And Hamilton now is getting a great run on George Russell, and he flies past the Audi driver in towards Spoon Curve. Now it's our turn to get past this man and keep the pursuit on Lewis Hamilton going. At the moment, Hamilton is freely rolling in second place in a net P2. Verstappen is in P2 at the moment in terms of a net position, but he has to stop again as we look now at trying to attack George Russell in towards 130R. I think Russell might have some front wing damage, actually. I'm just trying to check that as they go on through. I think his front left end plate is damaged there. There's a little bit of contact between Reese and Russell goes on there. Yeah, George Russell has got some front wing end plate damage, and there goes Reese flying past George Russell. Hulkenberg as well, minds as well, and the second Jaguar is also doing a 2-stop race for this Grand Prix. But for us, though, we've now managed to close up onto the back of Lewis Hamilton. We managed to stick in that DRS range, and now is our perfect opportunity to strike on Hamilton. We're going to use Rich Mixture, we're going to use the overtake button, and use everything we've got now. We're getting very close to Hamilton. He goes defensive in towards turn 1. A little bit of a screen freeze there, a little bit of contact, but we make the move stick on Lewis Hamilton. Make sure that he goes a little bit wider towards turn 1, and we're up into third place in the Japanese Grand Prix. That's a great overtake for us, and now we can settle ourselves in, and we're in front of both Mercedes cars. And now we just have to focus on Verstappen. But speaking of Max Verstappen, we're on to lap 17 of the Grand Prix now. Verstappen has pitted for his second stop of the race onto soft tyres. For us, meanwhile, we're now in P2. But how much longer? Lewis Hamilton, though, was not very happy that we managed to pass him earlier on in the Grand Prix. And now he's going to try and come back at us in towards 130R now. We just about stay in front of Hamilton into 130R. But now towards the chicane here, we're going to not cover the inside line because the AIs don't really tend to go for a move down the inside and towards the chicane unless they're right behind you. On that occasion, Hamilton was not right behind me. But now we're under a little bit of pressure here because Hamilton will have to DRS on the start-finish straight. We instantly go defensive in towards the first corner, taking no chances here as Hamilton flies up towards the back of us now into the first corner. Hamilton goes towards the outside line, but we can just cover that one off. We can take the wider line as well because it's very hard to swoop on the inside despite the fact that we did it on Lewis Hamilton about 5 laps to go. But for us, though, we're now trying to press onwards onto lap 19 of this Grand Prix, and Hamilton is all over the back of us now as we're trying our hardest to at least just try and pull away, or if not, just defend for the rest of the Grand Prix. That is the objective now. We're in second place with Sam out in front. He's going to close that gap down, which means no matter what at the moment, as we go into 130R here, Hamilton just about stays alongside us here. Now in towards the final chicane. It's side by side between myself and Hamilton. We're going to give him the room here. Bit of contact maybe between myself and Hamilton. That puts my car very unsettled. Side pod to side pod though. No front wing damage for myself, but now onto the start finish straight. Hamilton's got the DRS, but we're going to use everything we've got. Overtake mode and rich mixture. We've not got fuel though. We're going to have to try and save that later on, but we're just using everything we've got in our power into the first corner. Couple of screen freezes and frame drops here and there, but that was F1 2018 PC for you. But we get back past Lewis Hamilton and show that fighting spirit between myself and the Mercedes man. But onto lap 20 of the Grand Prix, going to start lap 21. Now all of a sudden, it's not a straight fight between me and Lewis Hamilton because Reese has got bored sitting in P4 and wants to come and play as well. But we're trying everything to not only fend off these Mercedes drivers, but also get fuel back on target as Hamilton now gets a massive run through in towards the first corner. We'll have to try and be brave on the inside. Hamilton, though, leaves the space again, and we managed to cover him off. He should have got that one. Oh, there's a bit of contact there between Reese and Hamilton. A bit of wheel-to-wheel banging there as Reese now trying to get involved on the act, and you can literally see here, lap 21, the car is very much unsettled. We are driving the living wheels off of this thing right now onto overtake mode and rich mixture. Reese now is going to get his chance to try and attack us in this Grand Prix. He'll go for it round the outside in towards 130R. Will he make it pay off for him? Just about. Keeps it side by side, but unfortunately for him, it won't pay off. And in towards the final chicane now we go, and for us, we now have to do a little bit more defending as we go onto the start-finish straight now for what will be the start of lap 22 of this epic Japanese Grand Prix. And now, as you can see here, Hamilton has got a fantastic run on race as they go in towards the first corner. I've noticed this, and I'm going to block off both Mercedes in towards turn 1. I just helped myself here. A little bit of a mess around with the camera there. I didn't quite get it right. But Hamilton re-overtakes Reese then, and now he can continue his fight with us. And of course, like I said, it is absolutely crucial that we defend our position against Mercedes because, of course, as we get another attack now from Lewis Hamilton, Sam, with him being in the lead of this Japanese Grand Prix, he will definitely outscore us no matter what, unless he gets an engine failure at some point in this race, which means the season finale will go down to, or the season finale and the title will go down to the Belgian Grand Prix. So we need to minimize how many points it's going to be heading into that Grand Prix. If we can finish in second place, I believe that gap will drop to just 18 points, which will put us in a great advantage, drop us down into P4, and we're going to lose a hell of a lot more points as we now go in towards the first corner. Reese then goes around the outside of Hamilton this time around, and we make it stick, but we're literally using every piece of the track surface here, and we're trying to save fuel. We're also saving ERS through this first sector. You just can't overtake, so it's a beautiful spot, especially if you're someone that's trying to defend against someone, whether that's in single player or whether that's just online for that matter. Defending in towards the first sector, you just can't make an overtake there, so it's so easy for me to save my fuel at ERS, and I presume obviously your opponent will be doing the same thing. But obviously this is against the AIs as we now go on to this finish straight here. And for some reason, it looks like Reese is also saving some of his engine modes as well, which is why obviously on towards 130R there, he just didn't pass us even though I dropped it into lean fuel mixture, which is fine by me because it just allows me to get my fuel back on target, and I'm okay with that. And fuel, we've now got back on target. We were minus 0.3, but now we've managed to recover that here as Reese now tries to get a great run for us though, but Hamilton is going to have a run on Reese in towards the first corner. Those two are going to go at it once again now. In towards the first corner we go, but in towards the first corner, the two Mercedes cars go side by side then. Hamilton now trying to fend off Reese. Reese will go up the inside in towards the S section. This is beautiful stuff from the two Mercedes drivers, and also for me because I can pull away while these two have a little bit of a scrap then as they go in towards the S sections. They're still side by side, but Hamilton just about fends off against Reese there. But now Reese heading in towards 130R is going to come back at Lewis Hamilton. Verstappen there is right behind, so Verstappen now is catching both Mercedes cars as Reese now gets Hamilton in towards 130R. Nice overtake there, but crucially the two Mercedes' scrapping allowed me to pull out of the DRS of the two Mercedes cars. And to my surprise actually, as soon as I got out of range of DRS from those two Mercedes cars, I was comfortably quicker than both of them. I didn't need them to scrap to pull away from them, but they're scrapping nonetheless, and that just allows me to get an even bigger gap then as Hamilton swoops around the outside and towards turn 1 on his teammate there as they close up to the back of one of the Ford cars now. But unfortunately for Reese, more problems because here's Verstappen, he's on soft tyres, and remember Verstappen tried a 2-stop in this race to beat Mercedes-Benz here today. They're not going to beat McLaren at this Jaguar because me and Sam are out front 1 and 2, but unfortunately for Mercedes, they might get caught out by Jaguar's plan by actually ruining their own plan and fighting so hard here. But Reese now has got DRS and he's got all of his engine modes clearly turned up there, and he flies past Lewis Hamilton into third place then for this Japanese Grand Prix. And now let's see if Lewis Hamilton can come back at him, which unfortunately he can't. But for us though, on to lap 27 of the Grand Prix, Sam has won the Japanese Grand Prix, and that means that no matter what, the Formula 1 World Drivers' Championship is not clinched here today. It's going to have to go down to the season finale at Belgium. We're going to come across the line to take second place, and that means it is going to be myself versus Sam for the season finale in Belgium, and it's second place though nonetheless, and a great race and a great result for us all round then. As we have a look at the race results right now, so Sam wins the Japanese Grand Prix. He led from start to finish. He dominated the race proceedings today and has been on an absolute roll at the back end of this season. For us though, we claim second place in this Grand Prix, finishing just 15.2 seconds behind. Honestly, with the amount of scrapping that we actually did today, to finish only 15 seconds back was not that bad actually. Yeah, I was really impressed with today's Grand Prix. We gave it absolutely everything, and we threw everything at Mercedes-Benz, and as soon as they started scrapping against each other and we managed to pull out a DRS range, that was it. Game over, unfortunately, for Mercedes. Funnily enough, like I said just earlier, I was quite surprised. I had the pace to actually get away from them, so that was good to see. The Mercedes-Benz duo then of Reese and Hamilton finished in P3 and 4 with Reese just 0.2 of a second clear of Lewis Hamilton. Max Verstappen P5 for Jaguar, 21 seconds off the pace. And then it's Esteban Ocon in P6 for Renault. A fabulous job for him today, starting in P11 and doing a great job for him. Hulkenberg in P7 for Jaguar. His race was compromised from the start after we overtook him, then Ricciardo overtook him. He just didn't quite get into the rhythm like Verstappen did. Lando Norris finishes in P8 ahead of his teammate Mason Wood in P9 for Red Bull. So both of those getting some decent points on the board for Red Bull. And then Charles Leclerc finishes in P10 for Ferrari. Another rough day for Ferrari then. Verstappen picked up the fastest lap of the race with a 1 minute 27.604. And then looking at the second half of the table here, Noah James finished in P11 for Ferrari. Again, rough day for them. They didn't really get it right today. And obviously, as we saw in the news briefing, with them putting all their focus into next year's car and have done for quite some time now, yeah, Ferrari really struggling for pace. Devon Butler finishes in P12 for Audi, ahead of Valtteri Bottas in P13 for Williams. That's a great result for Valtteri Bottas to go so high up the order. George Russell in P14 for Audi, ahead of the two Porsche cars of Rosberg and Wehrlein. Carlos Sainz finishes in P17 for Ford, ahead of Lucas Weber for Williams. And then it's Pierre Gasly down in P19 for Ford. And then Daniel Ricciardo was the only driver to DNF from today's Grand Prix after the virtual safety car had to come out for his problem on lap 10. And now having a look at the Drivers' Championship after today's race, it does mean we are going down to a season finale between myself and Sam for what is, I believe, like the third season in a row now. We just can't stop having scraps between each other. The gap is 18 points at the top of the championship. Very, very similar, bar 1 point, to me and Sam last year. Now, last season, I had to claw 17 points on Sam, and I failed in that challenge. Sam this time has to claw 18 points on me, which believes, if my maths is correct, I would have to finish in 6th place or above to confirm the championship. You can correct me in the comment section down below because you'd actually use a calculator. I'm not. Reese is 3rd in the championship. He's on 204 points and has now managed to pass the 200-point barrier. Considering the amount of problems that Reese has had this year with that Mercedes car, he's done an absolutely stellar job to be where he is. Lewis Hamilton 4th in the championship on 151 points. That just goes to show how quick Reese has really been this season. And if everything went his way, you never know, he could have been the championship leader for all that we know. Noah James is in P5 for Ferrari on 117 points, ahead of Mason Woods on 84 points. Max Verstappen now climbs to 7th in the championship on 81 points and has a real shot of overtaking Mason for 6th in the championship. He just needs to outscore him by 3 points. And with the Belgian Grand Prix coming up next being a high-speed circuit, that really will pay into Jaguar's hands. Charles Leclerc drops to 8th in the championship for Ferrari on 77 points, with Lando Norris P9 on 61 points, and Daniel Ricciardo still on 53 points after failing to score today. And of course, that season finale is the Belgian Grand Prix. It's the Constructors' Championship now. McLaren certify even more dominance, as if they haven't dominated throughout the entirety of the season, on 510 points now. Mercedes-Benz are on 355 points, with Ferrari on 193. Red Bull are on 145 points, with Jaguar on 119. That championship fight is getting much, much closer if it's going to be the way it is with Jaguar and Red Bull. You never know, they could actually overhaul that 26-point gap that they have to offer, but we'll have to wait and see. Renault are on 94 points and is still in front of Audi, who are on 81 points, with Ford on 16 points, Porsche on 10, and Williams on 6. With that being said and done, let's go and have a look at the post-race notebook and see what the teams and drivers had to say after today's Grand Prix. Sam and Tom have showcased their true dominance after a 1-2 finish for McLaren today. Sam, of course, started on pole position and managed to lead very, very comfortably throughout the entirety of the Grand Prix, whereas Tom really had to go for it in this race to try and maximise his chances of the World Drivers' Championship, fighting off the Jaguar of Max Verstappen and the two Mercedes cars of Reese and Lewis Hamilton. Sam is shocked that he's managed to pull Tom in for the World Championship. Sam personally believed that the Formula 1 World Championship was going to be wrapped up much, much earlier and has been surprised by his late season pace, and he's managed to close Tom in to now take the championship fight to the final Grand Prix in Belgium, and he is very much looking forward to it. Reese is very annoyed with Mercedes after he felt that he could have beaten Tom. Reese and Lewis Hamilton went at it pretty much all the way throughout the Grand Prix in order to try and tackle the battle between themselves and Tom, but it seemed like Lewis Hamilton got the most of the opportunities to attack Tom, whereas Reese really had to muscle his way past and only really get 2 or 3 opportunities at Tom in specific corners before Hamilton came straight back at him again, something that he really wasn't pleased with. And Jaguar are ready to go all out to try and beat Red Bull in the final round of the season to overhaul the Constructors' Championship point deficit that they have to them. Jaguar believe it's going to be a very, very tough task to beat them, as they're going to need quite a lot of points in this race, and obviously with Mercedes and McLaren being a little bit quicker than them, they're going to need to pull it all out of the stops at the Belgian Grand Prix. But for that is everything for today's episode. If you guys have enjoyed it, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well, and we will see you guys next time. Take care all. Peace.